April is Distracted Driving Awareness Month. 400,000 people are injured each year in distraction related crashes. Now, the Governor's Highway Safety Association and General Motors are joining forces to combat distracted driving. Today I have Pam Shado Fisher, Senior Director of External Engagement with the Governor's Highway Safety Association. And from General Motors, I have Tricia Morrow, Global Vehicle Safety Strategy Manager. Good morning, ladies. How are you?
Good morning.
Morning, we're doing great.
Well, one of you can answer this question for me. How large of a problem is distracted driving?
Well, it's a very big problem, James. What we're talking about here is over 3,000 lives being lost in 2020 and another 400,000 people being injured in crashes caused by someone who was distracted behind the wheel. And you think, wait a minute, 2020, that's the pandemic, the height of it where people were staying home and there were fewer cars on the road. But no, it was happening and it continues to happen. And the numbers in all of our areas of safety have been going up, going in the wrong direction. So it is a big problem, one that people readily admit to through surveys that have been done by AAA and other groups. And we know that when you engage in these behaviors that distract you, take your eyes and your focus off the road, that your crash risk goes up significantly. So this is a problem that's persistent, but it is absolutely preventable.
Now, what can be done to combat the problem of distracted driving?
Well, we start by first taking a look at, making sure people understand how risky this is and, really educating folks as much as possible and using a variety of tools to do this because it takes a holistic approach. It's education, it's advocacy and enforcement, and it's also the technology piece. But the education is important. We need to educate our kids at a young age about what it means to be a responsible driver and to not be afraid to call out mom or dad or an older driver who is, doing something that distracts them and say, hey, I don't feel safe. Please don't do that. We need to talk about this and really help to change the culture. Employers need to also be engaged and send that message to their employees. We don't want you to be unsafe behind the wheel. We want you to put down your phones, focus on driving, be safe so that you get to work and get to home safely. And we need strong laws. And we know in Missouri, they've been trying for years to pass a ban on cell phone use behind the wheel, as well as texting, and also a seatbelt law. It's a secondary law. So these are laws that are really important. And when we have these laws in place, it sends a strong message to the driving public that these are behaviors that are unsafe, that are dangerous, and we need you to change. And it also gives enforcement the tools they need to address these risky behaviors, because the decisions we make behind the wheel affect not only us, but everybody else out there on the road. And I toss it to Tricia to really talk about the technology piece of this, which is also vitally important to our conversation.
Okay, Tricia, what can drivers and passengers and the automotive industry do to help make the roads safer?
I think that is an excellent question. At General Motors, we look at safety holistically. We're looking to research, technology, and advocacy to really combat distracted driving and all risky driver behaviors in the vehicle. So you look at the research, and we know things like if you're holding that cell phone and texting while you're driving, Virginia Tech has done some great research that says you're 6 times more likely to get into a crash. We also know that driving with your eyes on the road and hands on the wheel is the safest way to drive a vehicle. And so we have technologies such as Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. We've recently introduced Amazon Alexa to really use voice controls in the vehicle to do just that, to keep your eyes on the road and your hands on the wheel, to really safely operate your vehicle. We also know from the research, we recently conducted a future of safety study, and to speak to Pam's points, there is a driver paradox or driver delusion where almost 90% of respondents say even though they text and drive and they speed, they still think they are safe drivers. So even though General Motors has technology in the vehicle, we still work with our advocacy groups such as GHSA really to try and bring about behavioral change, because that's where we're really going to see a difference. really getting people, especially during Distracted Driving Awareness Month and all year long, to realize it's not just about texting and driving. It's not just about, eating a cheeseburger or reaching for something in your vehicle. There's so many distractions in your vehicle, and we need to be cognizant of them all, including our emotional state and our own effect of, our effect of driving on the roadway safety.
Now, we've heard about distracted driving for years, and it's still a problem. What do we need to do differently to make progress?
It really starts with each of us, and Tricia said it so well, is that we're kind of delusional about how good a driver we think we are. None of us are without faults. And we have a culture in this country where we think that, it's acceptable to do some of these things, and it's simply not. In 2020, we lost over 38,000 people in car crashes much of this because of decisions they made behind the wheel that put themselves and others at risk. So we have to take an inward look and say, what are we doing? If you have this habit of saying, I always have to be, checking my phones, or I'm an eater in the car, I didn't make time for lunch, so I'm going to grab something on the way, or you're going to put your makeup on the way to work in the morning. These are dangerous things. They're taking your focus off the road, and you have to be able to react quickly to what is happening out there. So it starts with each of us. It starts with all those other pieces that we talked about: technology in the vehicle, businesses, schools, all of us working together to really push the dynamic and say, culturally, this is unacceptable and we have to change.
Now, where can our viewers go for more information?
Well, I'll start it and I'll toss it over to Trish as well. But I would say, first of all, check out Missouri Department of Transportation's program, Buckle Up, Phones Down. Great program. It's really making a difference. Take the pledge and make sure that you do adopt those behaviors that make you safe. Also, GHSA.org. Our website is filled with information, and I know GM has some great resources too.
Yeah, absolutely. We encourage folks to visit gm.com under the vehicle safety section. There you'll find lots of information about all the statistics that I've been talking about, as well as other risky driving behaviors on teen driving, impairment, seatbelt use, and obviously about distraction as well.
We've been talking with Pam Shadle Fisher with GHSA and Tricia Morrow with General Motors. Now, Tricia, before we leave, you're in Grosse Pointe, right?
I sure am.
I keep thinking about that movie with John Cusack and Minnie Driver. You have to forgive me on that one. The movie Grosse Pointe.
Grosse Pointe Blank. The only real scene is just at the beginning where they show.
I like that. Ladies, thank you for joining us on Morning Blend.
Thank you.